Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this live stream. My name is Hassam Hussein, and I'm the program manager for the Microsoft Reactor in the Middle East and Africa. Microsoft Reactors are hubs for founders and developers around the globe to meet, learn, connect, and learn from the industry experts all about what's happening in technology. And in today's session, we are bringing you another topic that is very hot, the mixed reality topic, and we are joined by two amazing speakers to talk about the same. As usual, our events are following the Microsoft Code of Conduct, so let's keep this environment friendly and open to all questions and viewpoints around the topic. Be welcoming and respectful, aware of others, friendly and patient, understanding of the differences, and kind and considerate to others at all time. And yeah, as I mentioned before, today's session is about the mixed reality topic, which is a super hot topic. And we are fortunate to be hosting Christian, who's a Microsoft MVP and a Hololux CEO, and Zaid Zaim, who's a Microsoft MVP and also a mixed reality catalyst. I'm adding Zaid and Christian to the stream. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us, Hassam.
It's a pleasure to have you again at the Reactors, and we're excited about today's topic and what are we going to share with the community.
Cool. So in today's session, we are basically going to have a pre-skilling opportunity to our MIA audience for who is participating next week at the Diagnostics conference. As you probably heard, that there will be a huge metaverse hackathon driven by Microsoft, and here we want to support everyone who is interested in the mixed reality metaverse topic, basically to master the jump into the space. So to learn basically some foundational knowledge elements, how to set up your first mixed reality project, and basically how you can kickstart your first project. So, and with that, we will master hopefully today the jump into mixed reality. Exactly,
That's
and
super awesome.
Yeah, and we have a small question from the beginning. There is a QR code, and yeah, it would be nice when you scan that, and it's a small poll, and we know a little bit about your dev background. So if if you're already a game developer from Unity and want to switch to mixed reality, if you're from .NET, JavaScript, newcomer or whatever. So would be great when you scan this with your phone. Should work quite easy.
Awesome. All right, so everyone, let us know as well if you're watching this session from different parts of the world. As mentioned earlier, this session is primarily to help share more about what's happening in the mixed reality space and to get you started in this space. And if you have the opportunity to be around for the hackathon that is happening in Dubai this month, that would be a great opportunity for you. I'm going to step off the stage right now and leave it to Christian and Zaid to continue today's session. You can ask us questions. This is a live session, so we'll also get to cover some of your questions in the chat.
Okay, yeah, we just see here the poll so far, 50% other. And I just let it run in the background. We start and we will have a look at it maybe at the end and see if there are more results.
Yeah, sure. So we will keep an eye on the poll, and then we are looking forward to know more about our audience.
Yeah, we have also JavaScript and now in the skill, so it seems to be a mixture from the audience. So maybe we jump to the introduction. So yeah, Hussam gave already a small introduction to me, Christian Glessner, the founder of Hololux. And yeah, I started super early with IT. I'm from Germany, and my parents had here a travel agency. Yeah, and in this business, it seems you start pretty early with IT. They had telex and all that things. And I remember I grew up literally between computers. They had this AS400, this amber sparkling screen standing there. I just, as a kid, I stand there and watched it, and I was fascinated about the cursor blinking ready, the tabula rasa, to create something completely new from scratch, is what I think is fascinating about the IT business. And for sure, now with all that new topics like mixed reality, virtual reality, AR, metaverse, my childhood dream came much closer. And so I'm really happy to be part of this a movement. Yeah. And by the way, I'm also then for 13 years now MVP. I came from the collaboration area, and around 7 years ago, I founded the first immersive agency in Germany. And yeah, Said, maybe you also tell a little bit about yourself.
Amazing, thanks so much, Christian. And I literally love these metaverse avatars that we created. So I'm looking forward for the next months, basically, to join always. I don't know, in immersive meetings as 3D avatar. Yeah, never mind. So yeah, I'm Zaid Zaim. I'm a mixed reality catalyst at Hololux. My main mission at Hololux is basically spreading our passion around the mixed reality and metaverse space and demonstrate what is possible in there. So I usually have regular meetings and connections with our customers who used to play around in the mixed reality space, and yeah, basically demonstrating to them what is possible in the metaverse using platforms like Altspace VR, and yeah, give a glimpse what is possible in there. So if you maybe follow us a little bit on social media, and you see probably also a lot of our Altspace parties. So I'm always the one who is in virtual reality handing over, I don't know, virtual cocktails and cheering up the community. So stay tuned for more on that. Exactly. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP, so I'm always passionate to share my knowledge around mixed reality and metaverse with our incredible local and global community in the space, and getting them together to celebrate this momentum, basically. And yeah, I'm really excited for next week. We will be participating at GITEX with a lot of with various sessions around mixed reality and metaverse. During also the hackathon, we will be mentors in there. So, and we will wrap it up on the 15th of October with an after party with Microsoft. So that's about me, and handing it back to you, Christian.
Yeah, thank you, Said. I think you should consider maybe what you pack. I think that's weather might be not so good for Dubai.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. Literally, I will only have shorts and t-shirts. That's right.
so,
Yeah.
so the first question is why you should jump into mixed reality at all. Yeah, let's see, when we talk about all that, the term Microsoft coined that mixed reality, and coined it between AR and VR. And then recently, last year, Facebook changed their name to Meta, and it was somehow the start of a new term arising, metaverse. But when I personally hear that word, I do not think about meta. So it's the name like cloud computing or something like this for a bigger movement. So, and yeah, metaverse, everybody talk about it, and how is that maybe related to everything, and what does it actually mean? So, metaverse, there is no really clear definition, and it's also not there. So when anybody say, hey, this is the metaverse, or this is the metaverse solution, or Horizon is the metaverse solution, or Decentral, and this is all not true, because the metaverse is not there as the name of a big movement. And to understand it, maybe where everybody agrees on is that it's the next evolution of the internet. And what it means is the internet will get immersive and 3D. And I think both is important. When it's not immersive, that means something with the technology like, for example, like virtual reality. When it would not be immersive, it just would be like Second Life, and we had that already. So the immersiveness is also an important part of it. And we have different tools and different things that now all claim they are metaverse, because it's a marketing hype term. For example, we have these things coming from virtual worlds or from social VR, like Allspace VR or Horizon, or different other social VR platforms. They claim they are metaverse. Then we have another thing, the whole Web 3.0 movement. I think I would put things like Sandbox or Decentraland even more in that thing, because they miss the immersiveness. They are not virtual reality or AR, but they have all this about digital ownership, about owning things, blockchain, NFT. Their platforms, they're rather focusing coming from there. And let's go to the left side here. Then we have, for example, AI. So AI is also a part of the metaverse movement. Maybe it's not so obvious. One part, for example, is for building something like HoloLens, you need a lot of AI that the HoloLens is able to recognize the environments. It's also an AI processing. But on the other side, the metaverse or this 3D worlds has a super opportunity. Because when I now talk with the digital assistants, hey Siri, then I talk with a phone or an object. That does not really feel natural. But in the metaverse, in a 3D world, you can give AI a face, a body, a shape. And this is also a nice chance for making AI maybe also more tangible. And then the part we are talking about is XR, MR, VR, AR. We are talking about mixed reality. And when I compare it with the internet, we talk about a term like the internet. And how we build the internet, we use HTML and JavaScript. Imagine a little bit, MR, mixed reality, is a little bit like the JavaScript that we need to build a metaverse. We build a metaverse with HTML. We build a metaverse with mixed reality. So just to get a little bit of understanding of it, so mixed reality is not just virtual world like Allspace. It's not like just like Decentraland. In the end, all of this will converge, and it's really a longer process. Let's say, I'm not sure, it's a wild guess. Let's say in 10 years it's there. Nobody will call it then metaverse anymore. We call it then reality. But this is now a term where we follow, and we want to build with you together the metaverse and find out what it actually will be. So beside all of this nice thing, what it might be, also a lot of studies and papers around from the economy perspective. This is just something from Bloomberg. They say $800 billion market next tech platform, and you will find 1,000 of that things where they say it's the next big thing. So it remembers me pretty much like the same with cloud computing. And I think cloud computing, the term arrived somewhere. I think it almost took 10 years till it was really there and everybody adopted this. So we are still in an early stage of metaverse, but it has a lot of potential. So when you start with it or building in 3D, there is some boss enemies that you have to face. It is in some part it's more complicated than building 2D stuff. There are some challenges that you have to solve in that area. For example, one challenge, everybody knows this UI. It got really famous with the movie Minority Report, and everybody was super excited about this UI. Zoom and zoom, and it looks quite cool. But when you really do this, I switched the sound here for me off, but when you really build something like this, as I said, it looks cool, it looks fancy, but do that 15 minutes or do it 20 minutes, you will feel, the arm hurts. And it looks cool, but it's from the ergonomic perspective, it's not so cool. And then you have to consider things, hey, how is the distance? How you do not have really haptic, how you give the people feedback when they click a button in virtual reality, where you put it lower, deeper. So there's a lot of things that you have to consider. So it's more complicated than building a 2D UI because you have one dimension more. And then another thing that you face is hardware. So it's also a very fast growing universe there. On the hardware is also changing yearly on a yearly base. There are new hardware around, and we have even differences between a HoloLens, which is a cool AR device where you have the reality and 3D models, and then we have these devices like MetaQuest or Windows Mixed Reality as virtual reality device where you cannot see the reality, where you're completely immersed in a virtual world. And so different vendors, different hardware, even AR, VR, and it would be hard to build for all of the different platforms. And they change very fast. So, but there's a solution for all our problems. And this is the Microsoft Mixed Reality MRTK. And my perspective of it, or how you can imagine it. So I see we have also at least a few JavaScript developer in or .NET developer. So I told before we built the internet with HTML and JavaScript. But who do that with plain HTML, CSS, and plain JavaScript? So these days you use something like React, for example, with Office UI Fabric or with Fluent UI, how it's now called, or with Material, but you would never come to the idea and write plain JavaScript. And imagine the MRTK like something like React. It's a framework which already brings a lot of goodness, and you do not have to care about many things. And yeah, Said, maybe you also tell us what you think. What is the MRTK?
Exactly. So to me personally, MRTK, it stands for Mixed Reality Toolkit. So imagine yourself, you really have a toolbox, So this toolbox contains, different components that's can support you to solve certain problems. So in this case, MRTK basically contains predefined scripts, UX UI elements, shaders, materials that supports you. All of these supports you creating your first AR VR experience using Unity 3D basically. So you don't really have to have this maximum or expertise in Unity in a programming language to get started developing AR VR experiences. So basically, MRTK supports developers, designers, and tech interested people to get easily onboarded developing experiences for within the mixed reality spectrum. So yeah, this is personally my perspective on MRTK, and using Unity 3D. Most likely, if you want to have simple interactions, a lot of things works only with drag and drop, So always you have this, object manipulator script that lets you, we'll come to these slides in a bit, like object manipulator, where you can interact with objects, scale them, have a look on them on different from different perspectives. So it's as easy as it seems to create simple interactions, basically, in using MRTK in Unity to manipulate certain objects. You also have something called bounding controls. So this defines objects, the object's dimensions. And also you have a wide options on UX UI elements that basically supports you creating a nice, polished solution or experience, basically. So all of these UX UI elements like buttons, pin sliders, and more contains always some public functions where you can add basically your 3D object in there, and then pressing on this button allows you maybe to change the color of it. So in this case, you might probably need to have a special look maybe on how to do certain functions in Unity. Exactly. And also we have here the third option, hand menus. So this always reminds me on like movies like Iron Man. So I really love the opportunity that you can basically toggle a hand menu and then start certain interactions from there. So yeah. And we have spatial awareness. So the HoloLens has 3D sensors on its surface where it recognizes the environment basically. So the HoloLens recognizes the environment and allows you to integrate this digital content into the physical world. So we see always here some different shaders options of within MRTK, so that supports you creating a computing experience. So exactly. Yeah. So what we're planning now to do is basically to show you how to set up your first mixed reality project using Unity 3D. Also, afterwards, I will share with you the GitHub repo of the project, so you can also clone it. The video will be recorded, so you can also get back to it and have a look on it. And if you are in the hackathon Discord server, you can always ping me and Christian if you have any questions. After this chapter, Christian will talk about Azure Mixed Reality Services, but now first let's jump into setting up our first MRTK project.
Yeah, so the MRTK will be the foundation. Side you have to share now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the foundation. We do not want to, check how to build a simple UI. We want to later on use the higher level services. And so that's the foundation. And that's why it's the pre-skilling today.
Exactly. And again, we would love to emphasize it's really important that you use this week to really invest the time in setting up your first mixed reality project, because the hackathon will be on the 11th of October, and the hackathon itself is only 6 hours. So it will be really challenging to do the setup at the hackathon day. So we really encourage you guys to do this the whole setting up the MRTK project already this week. Exactly. So Hussam, can we maybe move my screen share to?
Yes, Zaid, can you switch outside the tool? The screen you are sharing now, I can see. Yeah, it's our studio.
Okay, maybe.
Do I have to change my share? Stop it so that he can share?
No, I can switch to that. I'm just saying switch from the tab of the studio.
Oh yeah, right. So exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Better now? Can we see?
Yes, all good for now.
Yeah. Okay, great. Cool. So exactly. So this is basically the Unity Hub. The Unity Hub contains your projects that you create for different experiences, if that's a 2D game, 3D game, or AR, VR. So I already created here our Unity project. It's called MRTK 2.7 sample. So we will be using a certain version of MRTK 2.7, which is also compatible with all the Azure Mixed Reality services. So for creating a Unity project, you go on create a new project. Here you need to choose your Unity version. So we recommend or it is highly recommended to use Unity 2020.3.36. So or basically Unity 2020 LTS version. And here you can choose different templates. So for our mixed reality experience, we will choose basically the 3D template. And then you name your project, you save it somewhere. So it's always recommended to choose a short path for the project. So because it would be later on a little bit challenging when you want to import the MRTK packages, we'll be using a certain extension for that, but we will have a look in it in a bit. So I will not now create a new project. So basically here you choose the name and then the location, and then you create the project. Then after loading the project, you will have basically something like just a second. So here I'll create a scene, new scene, test. So you will have something like this. You will have an empty scene, which contains the main camera. The main camera is basically the user in Unity. And this represents basically the user's perspective in the immersive experience. So you also have a directional light. The directional light is basically the sun or the light that basically in light with it the environment. And here on the left is Unity's hierarchy, where you can bring in I don't know, different 3D objects in the scene that you can later manipulate and interact with. Exactly. And here on the left side is also the inspector, where you can tweak different components and parameters for the object. So if that's the scale of it, or provided a box collider to define its dimensions, or later on we will here add or attach different MRTK scripts to that. So before getting started playing around with Unity, we need to set up the MRTK environment. So exactly, to do that, if you check the dev post of the hackathon, you will have different links. For that, first you will need to have Visual Studio downloaded. Visual Studio, basically, we use Visual Studio in one of the last steps to deploy the experience to the HoloLens. So you need to have these components downloaded. So .NET development on Windows and C++ development as well, and Windows development, so Universal Windows Platform, because this will be our target platform for developing the experience. Exactly. So also I forgot one thing before. Installs. Exactly. So you always so when you want to download your Unity version, you need to choose also certain modules in here. So this would be at beginning also Visual Studio Community 2019. Android build support if you want later on maybe to play around with the project on an Android phone or an Oculus. And most importantly is also the Universal Windows Platform and Windows build support. And with that, we can basically kickstart the project. Exactly. So after we downloaded the different modules and extensions in Visual Studio, we get to the Mixed Reality feature tool. So this will be also featured in the links we will provide or that are provided on dev post. So the feature tool allows you basically to get the necessary packages of MRTK to kickstart developing your MRTK project. In the old days or in the past days or in the past, basically you needed always to go to the GitHub repo and then download the individual packages separately, and then it was a really long journey. So basically here with the feature tool, you go and choose your Unity project. Just a second. So choose the Unity project. So on my end, it's somewhere. here. So, oops, yeah, I already added here the the tools, but let's take, maybe here. Just a second. I already added to one of my projects the oh, oops. So I'm checking on one of my Unity projects. Okay. Never mind. Oops. I know. Here we go. Okay, so I selected now the my Unity project path. Then it always then recognizes what version this is, and then we go and discover features, basically which components of MRTK we can add there. So on my end here, this is the MRTK version we will be using, so 2.8. To add these, we just select all here basically, and then oops. Oops, I crashed. Sorry, just a second.
Yeah, so that's always the same in demos.
Yeah, live demos. Yeah, so that's why basically, please, as soon as possible, do the setup as early as you can. Exactly. So here I choose again the project. Select all, get features, and then so currently I already imported the tools, and then you import them here just directly into Unity. And then when that's done, you can, it appears then as a picture that okay, the packages has been imported to your Unity project. Then you can just close the the MRTK feature tool. So then we jump back to Unity. Then it will look like this basically. So here we have above in the toolbar, have mixed reality in there. So and we need to get basically our mixed reality components the profiles into the scene. So it's always, so here we have the main MRTK component here, and basically here you can configure different components that controls the various systems in the HoloLens, if that like the input system. Exactly. So now we, for example, select the camera, we copy it, and oops, no, I did it wrong. we copy the profile, and so to play around with the original one basically. Then we choose an input system. We go with the default one, and here we can have the boundary system, but it's not mandatory. We can also disable the teleport system, so it's more like for VR that you can teleport in there in the VR experience. So it's different. In mixed reality, you are the person who is moving basically. In VR, you always need to teleport or beam from one area to another. You can always have the spatial awareness system enabled, but at the beginning for testing and playing around with the experience, you can turn it off at the beginning. And then here, diagnostics, you can also turn it off, so it gives you always a window or show you the frame rate. Sometimes it's a little bit annoying, but for debugging, it's always good to have, but could be also turned off. Exactly, and that's the important part in here. Now we can try running the app in in Unity. So, basically here. Second. Unity is. What's happening? Just a second, and I'm not sure. Visual Studio decided to open.
I accidentally did a double click on a script.
Oops, probably. Exactly. So here, for example, in play mode, you can press on space, and then you can get these simulated hands, and then you can basically also emulate the interactions that you would like to have later on in your mixed reality experience. So this is the cool part that the MRTK team really invested in there to make to simulate or emulate the interactions directly in Unity. So at the beginning you don't really have to need to have a HoloLens in there to test basically your application. And one of the next important steps in setting up the project is basically you need here to select Universal Windows Platform as a platform. So here, this window shows you to what platforms you can deploy your device, your app to which devices. And here, our target platform is UWP, which is Windows on the HoloLens. Exactly, and then we go to player settings. And here you would have something called XR plugin management. So this would be also a plugin that would allow the different to have an immersive experience on the HoloLens. And here you would need to take Windows Mixed Reality, and then it would download the package. Then this would be already set it up. Make sure always to have here always the Windows target platform selected in there, and then exactly, and then one of the other important things would be to go maybe to player setting. Maybe you can create a company name for your app. I don't know, I just called it now Jitex. The product name is MRTK 2.7, and always give here a certain package name for your app. Exactly. So that's basically the simple setup in here. Here we created also a cube. Let's maybe add for it the object manipulator. So, and then we can basically, after pressing on play, we can easily interact with the game object. So here also with WASD, you can easily move in the virtual environment. And then I activate the hand simulation, and we can basically now interact with the game object. Exactly. So this is an example how to do simple interactions in Unity. So we also referred in one of the links on DevPost on a Unity course called Roll the Ball, I think. It's also very recommended that the ones who don't have experience in Unity to have a look also on that one as well, basically to learn about the simple functionalities in Unity. So exactly, so it's really important to learn about the different functions and how to code basically in Unity, parallel to learning on how to set up the MRTK environment. Exactly. So that's it. How to do your first Unity project setup for MRTK. What do you think, Christian? Did we miss something in here?
No, I think I can take over from there. So
Yeah, and just to add before, so also this is the GitHub repo of the project. So you can also clone it and try playing around with it. Exactly. Or maybe one thing I forgot about, Christian, just to mention how to build your app to HoloLens. Maybe just give me 2 or 1 minute to present.
Can you resume sharing your screen in case you are referring to the GitHub repo, or we will send the link in the chat?
Exactly. Let's send the GitHub repo into the chat.
Okay.
And can we have again my screen popped in there? Yeah. So also one of the final steps. Let's say this is now our app. We want to build it to HoloLens. So basically, you go here on build after we first chose the build platform. You create a new folder, call it app. Then you select the folder in here, and then basically then you build the Visual Studio solution within this folder. I will not do it now because it will take also, I don't know, around 10-20 minutes. And afterwards it would be looking maybe something so I just realized I deleted my previous build. Okay, no worries. But on building your Visual Studio solution to the HoloLens, it is also referred in one of the links we shared. So we always target ARM64 and release as a platform. So and then you would plug your HoloLens in there, and then you can start deploying the app on the HoloLens. But you don't need to worry much about this for now because this is a step that we would be doing more likely on the hackathon. So with that, we will be also providing engaged support on that topic. Exactly. So yeah, that's it for setting up your MRTK project. So handing it over to you, Christian.
yeah, thank you, Said. To now we do a little bit of transition more to the developer part and Azure part. So for example, we didn't check too much about code here. In Unity, you can develop the mother language is C#. So when you are a .NET developer, that's already quite familiar to you, and you can write the scripts in .NET Standard compatible or .NET 4 .star. It depends on which Unity version you use. You use other versions of the .NET framework. The process even a little more complex, like Syed already mentioned. You first transpile it in a Visual Studio project, and then in Visual Studio it's getting C++. And then it goes to the device. So Unity use C# as abstraction to later on a C++ build. And that's why it's very good for cross-platform development. But this is, when you use C#, you're quite familiar with it. And what you do, it's a behavior-driven development. So I have here, for example, a script, a simple demo script. When I double-click on it, that's on the wrong monitor, it opens Visual Studio or Rider. You can configure which tool you want to use. And yeah, something important is you always inherit a script from mono behavior. And then there's one important thing, very important, is an update loop. So that's maybe a little bit different than you're usually used to develop. Let's say it for simplification, let's say it calls every frame. Actually, it's not every frame because it depends a little bit on your frame rate. But this loop will constantly run. And then you can manipulate objects. For example, I use the transform, that's that object I'm attached to, and let the object just rotate. So in here you can bring in your C# script. When you look at this, it's now just rotating. And that's what Syed also suggested, the roll a ball thing. When you're not familiar with Unity, this teach a lot of the basic, like I think colliders, rigid bodies, and it really teaches a lot of the basic. I would also recommend to do this as in a part of the pre-skilling. Now you see the object is rotating, and I put a little more in that script. Wrong editor. Let me see that I get the right one. For example, I also have an action here, like send HTTP. And then you see that's where the development part comes more. Usually you have different options how you call from Unity HTTP calls. I use now the .NET way to do it. And then I just do a post request. In my case, I even trigger an flow doing something. And then I set in the script, in the behavior, you have this, like Syed has shown to you, this object manipulator, and you can fire events there. And I use now an event where I say, hey, when I end the interaction, then please call the send HTTP thing. Let me see. There's my hand. So let me see if it, I hope it's really fired. 1 second. Yeah, it should send a tweet. So what it does is the script triggered a flow, super easy. And now you see in the end, it posted now that thing from the project. So what I want to show there is the reality is, there is this UI stuff. You have to build a UI, but you must imagine it is in the end, or now people still build a lot of demos and something like this. But when the metaverse will be really there, it is just a new channel. We had that, websites, we only had desktop, then all that things came with mobile first, and now every app have to run on a mobile phone. And we will see in the future that will become a new channel to our apps. It will just be enhance our apps, our experience with the immersive layer. So, and in the end, you will connect all that backend systems that you already have and build will in the end become, mixed reality apps as a new channel. And Microsoft also offer a lot of, let me go back to the slide, a lot of services that you can leverage. Let's go here a little bit. So there are some services that are even specially focused around mixed reality. For example, Azure Spatial Anchor. Site mentioned also that the HoloLens recognize the environment. It checks for such called spatial anchors. It looks for things that are good recognizable, and then it keeps that to anchor your objects. So, but when you end a session, all the things that you have placed in your app, they are lost when you enter application. Or when you switch to another HoloLens, these things would be lost. And Azure Spatial Anchors is an option where you can save these anchors into the cloud. And it's also done for you. Let's say you can even place this anchor globally, and maybe there would be millions of anchor. It also brings you options to query for that anchor. You can say, hey, I am only interested in anchors that are from the geo location. It's close to me. So it has all this function to, let's say, even globally anchor objects in a persistent way. So on the very right side here, Azure Object Anchors is a little bit, is something similar, but it's not for, let's say, anchoring and mapping the whole world. It's more specific for saving anchors for a certain engine or for just on a smaller scale, but it's similar. And then we have another service, Azure Remote Rendering. That's quite interesting for example, also engineering. When you start with 3D, it's something that many people are not really aware of, but models they are built of polygons of tris of small small polygons, triangles. And it can have millions and millions and millions, especially when things are round shaped. It can have really a lot of polygons. And the HoloLens cannot do just too much. Let's say an object should not more have than 100,000. That's already quite a lot. But when you try to bring in an engine like you see here, it maybe have 10 million polygons. And then the HoloLens, you start that and everything freezes and nothing works anymore. But you want maybe see all the details of your super cool engine. And what you do then is you render it remotely. You render it on an Azure service that has GPU, and it just transfers the rendered image to your HoloLens. And this is Azure Remote Rendering. You can really have large models here, as we see here. So it render high quality interactive 3D content and stream it to the device, like I said before. And you can really see the models in full details. What is quite new is it has now a new support for a new format. It's support for point cloud. That's the typical thing when you use a LiDAR scanner, I'm not sure how it's really pronounced, but when you scan something, you also get super complex models with super large models. And this, for example, is a scan from the Microsoft sign at the One Redmond way. And you can render these super huge models. For example, this is also a scan of an office that you can really do with a scanner. And you see it supports in the premium layer 2.5 billions of points. That's super impossible to render on a device like a HoloLens or on a Meta Quest. So you use it, the power of Azure to render these things. So then also some other services, they're not specially targeted for mixed reality, but for sure they are quite important because we built also on a hackathon side, and myself, we built an app where we let the HoloLens recognize what it sees. And you can use Vision AI, sending pictures what the HoloLens receives, and then you know what it is, and the HoloLens can describe what it sees. For example, we did a demo app for people who are blind, and actually the HoloLens showed him the way and tell the person what the HoloLens sees. And this is another service then, because you can also have text to speech, speech to text. Then you have other things like bot framework. You can imagine you have a small digital assistant flying around, and you really talk with that assistant. Like remember maybe on my one of my first slide with that AI, you can really have assistants, not like Siri talking your mobile phone. Can be, my daughter might choose a unicorn. I would maybe choose something else, but you can have your assistants, and you can build that with cognitive services, with language. And it's not only this. I think most of the apps that we recently built always have an Azure function behind it, some database like Cosmos DB, and you will see the API layer will be pretty much the same thing that you build all the time with Node.js, Azure, or whatever. As I said, it will be in the end just another new channel to all the other apps that are already available. For sure, there will also be new apps arise, but you can leverage all the Azure goodness that you use also for just 2D apps. Yeah, this brings us already to the end. And I hope we could give you an introduction and give you a hint what will be happen on the actual hackathon. And as we already said, it would be useful when you have the project set up already. I think there was also the question if there will be a remote environment for this. I think there will be not, but Husam, you can correct me here. And
exactly.
I would also...
So there will be not. So please, guys, bring your laptops, your computers with you, and already, as mentioned, set this already up with the different developer tools and environment. So your PC will be your your key probably to to win the hackathon. For sure, we will be also providing HoloLens devices to test throughout the hackathon your solution on it.
Yeah, and when you're new to Unity, it would also be good when you might check out the rollerball tutorial, because you get an idea about that basic things like collider and triggers and rigid bodies and scripting.
Yeah. And also, one of the important points in the hackathon, also, Hussam, correct me if that's wrong. So use the opportunity also to present your prototype in addition to your demo, your HoloLens demo, a PowerPoint, to visualize your idea, to, basically showcase that. So, and also try focusing also on developing a prototype of the idea using the HoloLens and the tools we mentioned to you today.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure having you here with us today to talk about the mixed reality and to help the community get started, and also make sure that the participants in the hackathons are also able to have a prior knowledge before the hackathon and start getting the environment set up, their laptops and everything. And all the material that we have mentioned today, including samples, GitHub repos, some guidance, they will be linked in the description. And the session has been recorded. So as the case for every Reactor session, all these sessions are streamed and available for you to watch on demand on YouTube. So Microsoft Reactor is the name of the channel. If you're not watching us on YouTube, that's how you will find today's session. Go over it again. Make sure that you have done the correct setup, and as Christian mentioned, explore other learnings like colliders and all. That will be super helpful. Again, thank you, Christian and Zaid, for joining us today, and looking forward to meeting you in person in Dubai. And as for now, thank you everyone also for watching us, and stay safe, and we'll see you in the hackathon.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers.